Well, morning, everyone. Ricardo, thanks for putting pressure. Uh, but I think first of all, I took note to double check my renewal because if not, VTech was threatening to throw me off the stage if I haven't checked haven't done my renewal. But good morning, everyone. Morning, Minister. Morning, Dr. Chong, Dr. Anton, and friends. Just by show of hands, how many? This is the first time you're attending a event of this size, a physical event of this size. It's quite a number. So thanks so much for risking your lives because cloud is really that important. So, but I think it's great to see everyone because for me, it's also exciting because it's not just about meeting old friends again, but at the same time, I get to wear proper pants for my presentation. Because normally, in a Zoom call, you'll be here, and then that's all that matter. But today, I get to walk around and I get to show you my full suit. Um, the Thanks, Steph. The presentation today is actually not so much, it's actually more a series of questions. It's a series of questions that kind of represents what we're thinking about collectively because we're looking at this storm that we're in right now as an opportunity to make the necessary preparations so that we're able to emerge stronger. I think you hear the phrase emerge stronger very often, but it is about making the preparation. I think there is if you have a chance after this, go and Google this Under Armour advertisement by Michael Phelps, featuring Michael Phelps. So this video is quite long. It's a nice melodic advertisement of him training, doing long sprints, all his preparation. And then towards the end, he wins, obviously, Michael Phelps. And the headlines, the final tag is, it's what you do in the dark that puts you into the light. And this is a series of thinking that we are thinking about to try and figure out that if we do want to emerge stronger, what are things that we do need to be getting ready for? What are the new muscles that we need to build? What are the new platforms we need to be thinking about collectively? So it's just more of a series of questions. Let me see if I can get this going. So I think, first of all, we all know that digitalization has been accelerating. This chart essentially is just to say that it's not just the size of the digital economy that is growing, it's also the shape as well, because enabled by cloud technology and enabled by AI and many new technology. So the shape and the fabric of digitalization is moving, and it's moving a lot faster. We know there are a couple of major shifts that we know in the IT world as truths. We know that everything default offline has become default online. And just to add the number of smart things, recently I came across a smart salt shaker and a smart plant. I don't know what they do, but it's kind of cool that everything you have is kind of smart now. The other thing that we know as the truth is that everything default offline will become default online, like it or not. We kind of know one of the unfortunate things of being hyper digital is that default trusted potentially is heading towards default non-trusted, because we don't even trust the SMS and WhatsApp that come in on a regular basis. But in view of all this, we do recognize that digital transformation is accelerating. And I remember a long time ago, we were talking about cloud as a potential new trend. Cloud today is a foundation. Cloud is a necessity. And I think that's a great place. And congratulations to all the folks who are in cloud, because you guys are in a fantastic zone. Pandemic came along, and essentially we know the digitalization hyper accelerated. But this chart basically tries to put together some of the additional things that we're keeping an eye on, because we do know that on the geopolitical global stages, on the tech and business trends, as well as consumer behavior, things are changing as well. For example, I'll just pick a few, I won't go through all of it, is that the continued geopolitical tensions and nationalism will continue to be, because countries like companies are looking out for making sure that they protect their own interests first. We do hope that as Asia was the first to go into the storm, if all goes well, we're the first to come out. So the potential Asian renaissance could also potentially be interesting, because we're the first to come out of the clouds. We do know that the capital market and the real world is bifurcating. I'm sure if you look at the stock market vis-a-vis what's happening in the world, it is not necessarily in tandem, especially with an incremental 1.9 trillion that's coming in as well. And that's something we have to be mindful of. On the tech and business side, besides the cloud being a necessity, what we do recognize is that now companies are no longer looking at supply chain, but supply networks. because the need to look at it from a network perspective is changing quite a fair bit of dynamics as to how companies are structured and how companies connect with their stakeholders. We do recognize that the whole construct of trust, data, and cybersecurity is changing. So in the earlier point, we talk about hyper-digitalization leads to a stage where trust potentially becomes eroded. The necessary growth of digital trust is there. Today, digital trust kind of sits a little bit in cybersec, kind of sits a bit in KYC, in payment, and many other places. But to build a trust layer, it's not as straightforward. And a lot of companies are looking at how to build that digital trust layer. On the people trend level, we do know that our consumer behaviors have shifted quite permanently. Social compacts have changes. And we do know that we're all subject, whether we believe or not, we're all subject to hyper nudging from all the digital contact points that we have. Like it or not, our digital footprints are everywhere. So those are just some of the things that are shifts on a more micro level. This particular report by Google, Bain, and I think Temasek, one of the data point that was pretty cool was that to demonstrate the consumer behavior has shifted and not likely to go back is that they measured the number of hours that people were online during lockdown in Southeast Asia was 4.7 hours beyond work. So outside of work, you were still online watching something, playing something, 4.7 hours. And prior to it, it was 3.7. Pre-COVID, it was 3.7. During lockdown, 4.7. For the countries that has gone out of lockdown, it's still about 4.2, 4.3. So a lot of things don't change. This is a picture of my son and two lounges. I just inserted in because on the 15th of March, that's 3 days ago, I was diligently doing my work as a good civil servant. And then along came, because I have multi-screen, so one screen popped out and says, here's an offer for a lounge. So I put up my formal purchase request to my wife via WhatsApp. And within an hour, she came back and says, yes, it's about time, we try and do this. And this is a local SME. So there was 15, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, I think I got the approval. I placed the order at about 2 o'clock. It was delivered on the next day on the 16th for Singapore SME. I thought to myself as I came for this presentation is that my own behavior has changed as a result of this. Because now I rely essentially on online to get a lot of my stuff done, including getting lounges, and the efficiency there perhaps gets me to question and says, will I ever go back to the shops? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know, but just an example. I'm sure you guys have heard of Beeple and the NFTs. And this is just a chart to say that when we talk about tax permeating everything, one of the bastion that hasn't really been tagged, and some of you know I'm passionate about this area. It's an artist as well. The art world has not really been very technology, but in the last X number of months, this place is buzzing because of this piece of art, $69 million, making Beeple the third most valuable living artist. His particular piece of art called The First 5,000 Days represents a digital art from every day he put into his IG. So just in case you don't know what else art can get into, even this particular space of, what else tech can get into, even this space of art is now super duper hot. There is a talk this Saturday, I'm not sponsored to say this, by Art House, non-profit organization on art and AI. If you're interested, ping me, I'll let you know how to get there. But tech is permeating everything. And one of the things that we are thankful for is that Singapore still remains a very, very nice space for tech to continue to prosper, not just for Singapore, but into the region as well. I remember that these are all the few that we picked up, but there was one I remembered from Forbes a couple of years ago. This is 5 reasons why companies or tech companies still look to come to Singapore. One was about being openly connected. The second was our FTA. Our FTA, we're about 22 to 23 FTAs, and that helps. There was a view about talent that is available in Singapore. There was a view that Singapore was digital trade and digital data friendly, and geopolitical stability as well. And I think if you read the news every now and then, my colleagues in EDB does a fantastic job bringing new companies into Singapore. So I think Singapore still remains a good place, and that's where we're kind of confident that despite the storm, we have the necessary foundation and the talent to be able to emerge potentially stronger and leverage the shifts. But we do recognize that in this space, there's opportunities as well as obviously challenges. The huge flight to digital is one whole area. Second is about going global and going digital. Third, about new needs. And fourth, in terms of talent needs. I'll just touch on a few. In terms of going digital and going global, we do recognize a lot of companies are now thinking very hard, how do we further leverage? The challenge obviously is that how do you manage the immediate needs today, because there's quite a number of companies outside of tech that is not doing well, because it is a tough industry for many other sectors. How do you manage between balancing a dollar to meet today's needs and a dollar to invest in tomorrow's muscles? It's not easy. When you look at your P&L and you say you have only $1 to spend, you spend on trying to make sure that you are still able to keep the employees and keep the shops open, or do you invest in a digital platform that hopefully helps you to grow? Not easy. The other part that we find a lot of companies thinking about is balancing between the restructuring of potential markets. So the example we give to quite a number of companies is about Ang Mo Kio and Sao Paulo. Because with tech, today you can reach out to your existing customer in Ang Mo Kio much faster. You can sell your lounge chair to your customer in Ang Mo Kio in 10 seconds, pending approval from the wife. But at the same time, you have an opportunity because of the global network to now potentially sell your lounge chair to a new customer in Sao Paulo. Because the global networks and the digital networks allow you to potentially do that. The downside, obviously, is that there is potentially another chair maker in Sao Paulo that can sell a new chair to your existing customer in Ang Mo Kio. So it becomes a challenge because we can no longer look at Singapore as a geographical constraint, a geographical boundary, but what are the possible markets out there, not just from an opportunity, but potentially from a competitor standpoint. I think markets like Ricardo's is a little bit more contained because no one can replicate Ricardo coming on stage here. Until the day I can do hologram, then I'll let you know. But these are the balancing the now and near future considerations that many companies and individuals are thinking about. But at the same time, there is a view that because there are new emerging needs, how do you actually pick the right fights to either invest early or potentially be a fast follower? And then lastly, we do recognize that while we have the skills today, all of us here in the tech world are always concerned that our skills erosion and half-life is extremely fast. How do we make sure that we are able to keep building new set of skills? I think I was scribbling all the acronyms that Dr. Anton was saying, because I kind of said I better go and read up all this because I don't quite catch most of the acronyms he talked about. But I think that's a potential reflection of the type of speed that all of us need to keep building new capabilities. So these are some of the thoughts on opportunities and challenges. And for us in IMDA, we kind of think of ourselves as the architect of the Singapore's digital future. And we like to look at it in terms of a couple of roles. Obviously, is to build a thriving digital economy, but at the same time, an inclusive digital society, because it is about making sure that everyone is able to benefit from the wave of digitalization. And there are three broad pillars. One is obviously transforming the digital economy, an area around our digital spaces, securing them, and then creating a cohesive and inclusive society. The two particular areas I'll just show examples on is innovating at scale and growing digital talent. Won't go through everything else that we try and do. In the space of innovating at scale, we do recognize that given where we are, whether it's on a company level or individual level or a national level, and to get to where we are, there is no 10-year series available. There is no playbook potentially available. So it is a question of how do we then innovate at scale. And we put together a couple of programs that has been around. Many have been championed by Minister when he was with CE of IMDA, and they continue to bear fruits. For example, the Open Innovation Platform that was initiated during House time last year became a national innovation platform. We threw in 7 challenges, and as a first wave, and then many others thereafter. In fact, it was quite exciting that STB announced that one of the challenges has resulted now in a new solution for safe management. We're not using it today here, but it's an example of it. So innovation at scale, and I think earlier Kate Howe as well as Yoksin talked about the talent work that the industry is doing, IMDA is doing, WSG is doing, SSG is doing, SCS is doing, and that needs to continue. They showed me 1 minute, so I'll wrap up with 2 stories. A story take longer than 1 minute. Okay, I try to be fast. Okay, so story number one. Story number one is I started in IBM as a sales rep, so Steph would know. And in IBM, they teach you a very structured way of trying to meet customer, build rapport, suss a deal, qualify a deal, validate a deal, close a deal. Very structured. So I follow the playbook. step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Quite painful, but it's rigorous. Then one day, my competitor called me and said, "Hey, bro, you want to go fishing this weekend? We go Bintang." So I said, "Okay." I went with him. So it's my competitor, but my friend. And then he invited a whole bunch of industry CIOs together. About 12 of us, we went in 2 little small boats, similar to this boat. And we spent 2 days, 1 night fishing, not talking about work. Came back, we all became good friends. And I pulled him aside and says, "Dude, what just happened? Do you pay for all this?" He says, "No, no, no. It's common interest. Um, everyone's just here to have fun." I said, "So why did you invite me? I'm your competitor." He says, "Number one, I see you very poor thing. Every day follow the rule book, follow the playbook, step by step. So I thought perhaps I show you that there are many different ways to skin a cat. And number two, I believe," he said, "I believe that the industry benefits from all of us growing together, regardless of whether we're competitors or not." So that stuck with me for a long time. This is the boat story. The second story came from my time at Lenovo, because my boss showed us this picture and say, "As 吃着碗里的饭，守着缸里的米，然后还要看着田里的苗." What it means is, as you eat the rice in your bowl, you keep an eye on your rice urn in your kitchen, but also keep an eye on the harvest in your farm. And it's, I think, where we are today, because as we worry about today, we worry about storm today, I think it's important for all of us as individuals, as companies and industry, to think about what we need to do to prepare today for tomorrow, whether it's on a skill level, on a capability level, on an innovation level. And then, like, hopefully like the boatman or the boat example, think of different ways of skinning the cat, because I'm actually very confident that this storm is great for Singapore, because I think there's a lot of ways that we can come out of this a lot stronger. So with that, I hope you guys have a great conference, and it's nice to see people. Thanks, everyone.